I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for the help there, little guy.
Okay, I'd just like to mention we've got former County Commission President Mike McKay sitting in the peanut gallery stuffing his face as usual. Good evening, Mike. Okay, we'll get started here. Are there any additions or deletions to our minutes, gentlemen?
No.
None.
Do I have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 9th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move right into our action agenda. We've got a road opening petition. This has already been discussed at the hearings. Is there anyone here to speak on the petition for the Paper Street Summit Circle? Okay, gentlemen, do we have a motion to move forward with this opening?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our second item is Resolution 15-7, Junk Dealer or Scrap Metal Processor Ordinance. Bill, do you want to give a little
I think we have the
background?
trooper
on it?
here. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Come forward.
How are you guys?
Good. Yourself?
Not too bad. Mr. Rudd?
How are you?
See you again, sir.
Yes.
Hey, I'm Trooper Whitaker. I'm with the C3I Criminal Investigation Unit. And the reason I needed to make contact with you guys, I run the RAPID program in Allegany County. What the RAPID program is, deals with your scrap metal dealers and your precious metals, basically your pawn shops, layman's terms, pawn shops and scrap yards. It was suggested that some of the old resolutions we had, it was suggested that we update them. It's still staying in accordance with Title 12 and Title 17, okay? Unfortunately, I only made one copy, but I did bring a copy for you guys. It just basically says in Title 12 that the primary law enforcement in each county should be established by the county commissioners. It had previously been established. We just wanted to update it. The reason we wanted to update it is there's been very little changes to it. Maryland State Police runs the RAPID program. I know Mr. Rudd's familiar with that. The RAPID program is a computer-based program where your precious metal dealers, i.e. your pawn shops, and your scrap yards, where you would take brake rotors or something to, they upload that into a computer system. It's the Regional Automated Pawn Information Database. Didn't want to confuse anybody. Maryland State Police maintains those records, and we're responsible for the enforcement based on the resolution that we have. And simply, we just wanted to update the resolution.
As a plumbing contractor that has seen an awful lot of copper go
Yes.
bye-bye, I appreciate your efforts.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, do we have any discussion on this?
No, sir.
Jake?
None.
Do we have a motion to accept Resolution 15-7?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Thank you
Trooper.
very much. Item 3, Agricultural Transfer Tax Fund allocation. Mr. Dorsey?
Good afternoon. The state of Maryland collects a real estate tax on agricultural properties and turns a portion of that money over to the counties to support agricultural land preservation, and to some of it can be used for county administrative costs. But if the money isn't used within 3 years, it goes back to the state. Now, this transfer involves the owners of a property north of Mount Savage who have agreed to sell their property development rights at a certain per acre price to the Ag Preservation Foundation. And this easement was approved by the county commissioners in October of 2012. They've been working at it that long to get this sale approved. And in order to qualify, they've incurred legal expenses, they've had surveying expenses, and have agreed to acquire the property's mineral rights in order to qualify for this program. So they're at a set per acre price. What's happened as they're approaching the settlement of this, the survey comes in and their property is a lot smaller than generations of the owners thought it was. And I was informed by the ag preservation staff that it's possible to use this agricultural tax money to augment the sale price of this easement. The funds will go directly to the owner, and apparently this is a common way of handling this to incentivize people to participate in a program elsewhere in the state. And I'd like to just explain that the program participation is urged in the county comp plan. In fact, it states that the county can or should implement financial mechanism to support prime ag land preservation efforts to create some incentive for the property owners to participate. Request that we have $20,000 out of this ag transfer tax to supplement this easement purchase.
Gentlemen, anything you want to ask about this? Any statements?
Dave, this has already been approved by the zoning board?
No, this was approved by the county commissioners.
This wasn't,
back in
but
2012.
the original agreement went through the...
Planning and Zoning Commission, yeah.
Gotcha.
Great. You're biting your tongue.
No, I voted no on this one the first time through, so I do not think that the state or anyone else ought to be buying up anyone's development rights, but that's neither here nor there, so.
Okay. Gentlemen, do we have a motion to accept this?
Motion.
I will second that. Roll call vote. Commissioner Shade?
Aye.
Creed?
Nay.
Valentine? Yes. It's approved.
Thank you.
And item number 4, Bowling Green Waterline Replacement Bid Award. Mr. Yoder?
Hello, Commissioners.
Sir, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Yourself?
Fantastic.
We had a bid opening on March the 31st for the Bowling Green water line replacement. We had 4 bidders. This is the second of a 3-phase program in Bowling Green to replace some of the old, undersized, and leaking water lines. The project would be funded by block grant. The low bid was from Carl Belt for $1,145,034. The grant money that we have available is $800,000. So we also have a little bit of money in the budget to supplement that. But it's a unit price job, so we'll reduce the scope to meet the budget that we have available. We'll be able to finish the majority of the water line work. We had some miscellaneous sewer work that we'll probably have to push off for another project. Any water line that we can't finish in this phase, there's a 3rd phase that will be hopefully bid later on this year. We'll push that out to the next phase. There's been, like I said, it'll be 3 projects all together, and they've all been grant projects, so we're very happy with that. I'm here tonight just to ask for approval for the award to Carl Belt.
Commissioners, before you entertain a motion, Mark, what are the streets that will be impacted in the
Crescent
neighborhood?
Street and Marigold,
Okay.
and a little bit on Apollo. Mercury and Apollo kind of blend into each other. There's some work back in there. We've had a lot of trouble with Crescent Street water, mainly a water quality issue on Crescent Street we're trying to correct. The other area, we're trying to move the water line from 220. There's a 2-inch, Commissioner Brody can appreciate this, we have a 2-inch galvanized line in Route 220, so we want to get it behind the houses instead in plastic.
Gentlemen, you have any discussion?
No, it's just one of these projects I like to see move forward, and I do know about that line because I actually worked on that line years ago.
Oh, really?
On 220, yes, so absolutely.
So Creed, would you like to make a motion?
I will make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, for consent agenda, Dave, you want to go through that?
Commissioners, we have 3 items on your consent agenda this evening. The first item deals with a surplus property sale. Back in January, we declared a list of properties surplus to the county needs, and those properties were offered to the public, and tonight we would like to recommend ratification of the sale of 6 of those properties as listed under item number 5. Item number 6 relates to 3 properties that the city of Cumberland would like to complete their acquisition of and proceed with demolition. All 3 properties are declared blighted by the city. We have 218 Park Street, 455 Baltimore Avenue, and 111 Independence Street. And last, item number 7 is a modification of our lease with Berry Plastics. This is a modification being done so that the lease purchase agreement and the amortization schedule with the State of Maryland loan would retire at the same time the lease would in December of 19.
Gotcha.
Any questions?
None, sir.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go down to county administrator. We have a bid opening.
Commissioner, we did have a bid opening Tuesday, April the 4th for the Barton Business Park Shell Building. We had 2 bids received that day, one from Carl Belt, one from Lashley Construction. Both of those bids were placed on the county's website, and we look forward to sometime in the month of May awarding that contract at that time. At this point in time, we are still waiting for some documentation back from the state of Maryland so that we can actually close on the property. Our target date is May the 11th, I believe. So stay tuned.
Good. Mr. Rudd?
I have nothing.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Though I should say something since Delegate McKay's here. He never let me talk, but that's okay.
That's okay. We'll let that one ride. Jake, do you have any statements or comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, it's my first year working through the budget, and I appreciate the staff and my fellow commissioners for helping me out. And, you know, this isn't an easy year to be budgeting. It hasn't for the past couple. But fortunately, the board has earmarked some money in the reserve fund, and that's what it's there for. It's there for these one-time costs, for the voting machines, for some of the finance stuff, for the debt that we knew was coming when we refinanced it, and it's going to be a one-time charge. So you know, moving forward, we're in a pretty good position, I think, and we have a balanced budget. So looking forward to continue work on that.
Great.
I'm going to keep this very short because I have another meeting to attend yet tonight, and it's more important that we hear from the constituents than me. I just want to say welcome, Delegate. So you didn't get slaughtered in Annapolis. Very good. And thank you, sir, for all your work on the budget. We most certainly appreciate that, too. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make my statements very quick. Had the honor of taking part in a retirement event for Dr. Raver last week on the 16th. Dr. Raver's put a lot of years in our local health departments, and it really advanced that, has really done a lot for our citizens. She was the driving force behind our local health department being certified nationally, one of only 54 health departments in the nation to this point to get that certification. So she will be definitely missed. Then yesterday, Jake and I went out to the fairgrounds where Dan DeWitt, Angie Patterson had a group of school students, 50 from Fort Hill, 50 from Allegany, I believe it was, and 20 from the Career Center. For Earth Day, they're planting trees. The reason why the fairgrounds was selected, we had a large number of trees out there that were damaged by beetles, that trees had to be removed. So these new trees that are being planted will help return some shade to the fairground in just a few years. And then this afternoon, I can't imagine why I couldn't get my buddies up here with me to attend ACM with me, but I took part in a program they called Walk a Mile in Our Shoes. And this old guy did a mile on a set of high heels that nobody should have to wear. But this event was to raise awareness of sexual problems on many college campuses. So I thought it was sort of a unique idea, walk a mile in their shoes, see what the women go through. And anybody wears those shoes, I pity you. Man, those things are terrible. Okay, we'll go to our constituent sign up. Eddie? Name and address first, please.
Commissioners, for the record, my name is Edward W. Taylor, Jr. Residence is 400 South Allegheny Street, Cumberland, Maryland. This evening, I'm once again representing the Cumberland Historic Cemetery Organization, and I'm again speaking about the hotel motel tax. I shouldn't have to. Washington County, I have a copy of their policy, several pages, how they handle their hotel motel tax. They do it very similar to the city of Cumberland. Every organization of historic note involved in tourism, tourism promotion, that sort of thing, every year, each organization has to present a written statement to the county commissioners down there, or in this case it would be the mayor and council if you're applying for the city hotel motel tax, and they ask for their stipend of the tax. Every year, in the city of Cumberland, each city council member and the mayor, they vote on what they think each group should get. They put it in, we'll say the pot, so to speak. Mathematically, that's averaged out, and each organization gets a portion of that. Last year, when the county commissioners turned us down because you all don't do it that way, we applied for City of Cumberland in the fall for the first year ever in our 32-year history, and we fared out right in the middle of the average of the amount of money that they gave. There were an even number of groups that got a little more than us and an even number of groups that got a little less than us. We were very pleased with that. It was a very smooth process. I don't even think I attended one of the meetings. Some of our members went and spoke for the organization. It wasn't really a big deal. This here is a big deal because what we see, and I spent time on WCBC radio this morning talking about this, it's not a fair process. I understand that there's only limited amounts of dollars. That is loud and clear. I think everybody in Allegheny County understands that. We understand that the hotel motel tax only brings in a certain amount. But what we have here in Allegheny County, let's use the Allegheny Arts Council for example. Last year they applied for 35 grand. They got 35 grand. They've applied this year for 35 grand. And I would assume they're still going to get that money or just about that amount. No other organizations, and we're not a new group. 32 years on the Richter scale isn't new. That's a generation and a half, by the way. We've been around and proven ourselves so many times, it's unbelievable. And for a group that has finally said, yeah, we need some. You know, we ought to be thanked for not ever taking any in the past. But yes, now we need some. We're not even included in this, and this is wrong. I got a letter here the other day from Dave Everly essentially saying we're not going to get anything. And we will not until 2018. This process is wrong, it's unethical, and it needs to be changed immediately. It should be that every year, no matter what group there are, there's groups that get money, that want money, that are not getting it. I don't necessarily agree with, but that's, you know, this is America. They ought to be allowed to apply, and they should be able to get some. And instead of giving the Arts Council 35 grand or whatever they're asking for, cut them. You know, most of those folks are of the mentality, share the wealth. Well, let's share the wealth. And what you're doing, you're stifling tourism by not allowing other groups to have the same opportunity as the Cumberland Theater, for instance. They're on that list. They're always getting the money. What we have is a closed system. And I understand the bond and the issue at Rocky Gap. That's where most of that money's going. That's a Cass-Taylor deal, as we all know from years ago. And that can't be helped. And that won't be paid, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Everly, around 2017 or 18.
That's correct.
That is correct. But what we're dealing with, and that obligation has to be met. But we have the Arts Council. We have the Cumberland Theater. We have the Allegheny Fair. The Western Maryland Railroad at $140,000. Well, you know, what do these people have a birthright to this money that we just can keep giving and we don't have an open process? That's the issue that I'm trying to portray. And I want to mention to the media, you know, hey guys, it's your job to question these type of unethical things and not just sit there and regurgitate crap that you hear all the time. And I don't want to see in the paper tomorrow Ed Taylor's here asking for $12,000, because that's not the case. What I'm asking for is an open, fair process to all historical-based organizations. And the Cumberland Historic Cemetery Organization is a historical-based, legally incorporated organization. We are asking again, you have 2 letters. Mr. Valentine, you asked for a copy of where we would spend the money. I think we're probably the only group that provided that. I bet the theater, the fair, the railroad, I bet they didn't provide that. We're also the only group that doesn't have anybody on the payroll. We're all volunteers. And a couple of other things. I'm going to call it the old guard. And that's what this theater, the railroad, it is. It's like an old guard. It's like a closed system that nobody has access to this public funding. And this is my problem. And this is the problem of Allegany County. And it really, that process needs to be changed. And until it's changed, all 3 of you guys are guilty of this. And, you know, you might want to talk to your attorney about it, because it's really bordering on legal ethics here. But we feel that we should be entitled to a portion of that money that we helped generate. It should be open to all historic organizations, not just a few that have always been getting it. Thank you.
Excuse me, Ed. If you stay there a few minutes. A few points I think need to be pointed out. That the funding of the railroad,
yes,
they have been cut in the past couple of years. They're being cut some this year. And that was an agreement that was done many years ago to bring that railroad here and to keep the railroad operating. As you know, Rocky Gap, that was a deal this group of commissioners had nothing to do with.
I understand that.
We're paying debt service on that till 2017. The money you got from the city of Cumberland, that is actually hotel motel tax that Allegany County collects. We give a portion of it to the city of Cumberland, give a portion of it to Frostburg, and you have gotten some of that money. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I put you in touch with Barb Buell, and Barb Buell is doing brochures for you now?
We still have not, that has not moved any further than it was a year and a half ago when we originally talked about that.
But she was waiting for a lot of information from you.
And we provided that, and we paid a printer to do that.
That is tourism money that will be doing that. And whenever I asked you for this letter, I told you to be very specific and stuff. You know, we do know where the money for the railroad goes. Yeah, and if you would have been at our budget hearings, they gave us a breakdown on where all that money goes. You know, all these groups come in, we know where it goes, and because of their ticket sales, we know how many people use that railroad. With the Cumberland Theater, we know how many people attend the Cumberland Theater. The Arts Council can give us counts on how many people attend different events they have and all. What you gave us here was a very minor breakdown.
Yeah, because we've never gotten any.
It's just not very specific, and there's nothing in here tells us anything about how many people do you bring to the area. And I think you also have to admit, I've been helping you trying to find state agencies in tourism
we have been
and
through
heritage, even though they've told you no, but I have been helping you, trying to help you find that. I mean, there's lots of things that bring people into this area. There's a little bar down in Little Orleans. During hunting season, that place is packed with hundreds of people from outside the area. But do we consider that tourism? They're tourists are coming in to help
that's
there.
a private business. That's a private business. That's different than a nonprofit.
If they would ask for help from tourism, we would have to tell them no.
Well, of course.
All right. So there's a lot of things that bring some people in. We have to know how many people are you bringing in, because we have to direct these funds to the areas that are helping us the most. And like I say, I talked to Barb again today about your brochures.
And where are we at on that? Because we paid Printers Inc. to design an entire good brochure to give her the proof. And again, we've heard nothing yet.
And you are now on the visitor's guide?
Well, we should be in the visitor's guide.
Well, but that is done through tourism money. So it's not that you're not getting any tourism money, Ed. But what we have to know, to say that you're going to put up some monuments. That's nice, but to be giving the taxpayers money out, tell us what monument, who the monument's going to be for, what graveyard it's going to be. So if anybody comes back and asks a question, we can say, well, go to such and such graveyard, you'll see the monument where some of this money was spent. And like I say, you are getting some tourism money. And how many tourists, how many true tourists do you think you bring into the area?
Several hundred a year.
Do you have any verification on that?
No, because we don't sell tickets.
Well, but you need to come up with some way of getting a count. Yeah, if you're going to be applying for this, as you're having these events, you can surely ask people, where have you come from? Are you spending the night? And get a count. So we know how many people are coming in. Because, I've been some of your events, and some of the events been a pretty nice sized crowd. Most of them, to me, though, look like local Allegany County residents. Some weren't too well attended, but so that's like any event here. But we have to, the way the county's regulations are set up, it has to be used for tourism. And so we have to make sure where we're giving this money is people, just bringing people in from outside the area and hopefully overnight stays.
Okay, so you're telling me the Arts Council, they give you, for example, last year when you gave them $35,000, and when they asked for that amount, that's what they got. They gave you a breakdown where every dime of that money went.
Not where every dime of it went, but they gave us projects that they were working on. This year, whenever they came in, they explained a project they want to do on a retaining wall down by Canal Place, where there will be a large mural painted on a wall that's rather ugly now. Once a mural's on there, it'll be much more attractive to people coming in. They want to put a bell tower up along the bike trail. All right, so that being along the bike trail, that is catering to tourists, and it's going to be a deal where the bike riders can come up, get their picture taken, and just sing, ring the bell, or whatever. Every year, whenever they come to us, they've got specific projects that they need some funding for. And that's what I was trying to get you to give us here whenever I asked you for this. Give us some specific projects. And I find it a little bit disheartening. I heard you on CBC, and it was like, we aren't giving you any help whatsoever. And I have bent over backwards when you were trying to acquire the piece of granite from the fire department. I was the one that found the name, got the contact for you to do that. I have given you the names and address of people at the state level to contact. I've put you in touch with Barb. So, I am trying to help you.
I understand that, Bill, but for example, the Heritage District area, I told you last year when we checked that out, none of our cemeteries are even in that area. The Maryland Historic Trust you referred to us to go to here a few weeks ago. I know how the Maryland Historic Trust works. I'm vice president of the State Cemetery Coalition. They don't give money out like that, but I did it because you asked. We went to them, and I went through the procedure. No, and of course, I found out what I already knew. The tourism brochure that Barb Buell is supposed to be working on, that's been going for a year and a half. I haven't seen anything on that. As far as the city hotel motel tax, that is an issue that we dealt with Mayor Grimm and the council members. And, whether you all give them some of that, which I'm sure you do, that's fine. But that was a decision made by the mayor and council, not by anybody in this building. What I'm asking, that this hotel motel tax on the county level be open to all historical groups. I mean, even Barb Buell, if you ask her, all groups are necessary to make a good, viable tourism package for a county. One person may like one thing, or one visitor may like one thing, another visitor may like another. I mean, that's just the way humanity is. And we need as much here as possible for all visitors. And what we have here, I mean, Washington County doesn't work this way. I mean, any group that's been involved in tourism, and we have been for many years, is allowed to apply. And they get something. It isn't the same groups all the time getting a set amount of money, and the other groups that, just because they've never applied in the past, they get nothing, continually get nothing. And that's the thing. And also the amount, now, the Cumberland Theater, yes, that's a pretty small amount that they asked for, $8,000. But the other groups are astronomical compared to what we asked for. And I even told Jason Bennett, your finance director, we'd be happy with as little as 5 to 8. And we amended that last year, I believe, in writing. Now, I didn't amend it in writing this year. We verbally told Mr. Bennett that, and I'm telling you that here in a public meeting. But what I'm saying is that it needs to be open to all groups. Of course, the Arts Council can do all these things. These fantastic amounts of money they're getting, not just from the county, but the state and through the National Endowment of the Arts. No wonder they can do all these great, grandiose projects. We could build monuments to the sky to draw people here if we got that kind of money. And, I mean, we built a monument for less than $700 to the founder of Cumberland, who was a Revolutionary War captain at Fort Cumberland, out of the little amount of money we got from the city of Cumberland. We brought people here from California for that event. Loads of people came up from downstate for that event. And, yes, they spent several nights down there at in Walnut Bottom.
Well, see, that's the kind of information.
Yeah, but we told you that when we met with you, when I met with you with one of our secretaries, Mary Ann Eckert, back in the winter.
But that's what I asked you. I told you, if you'll recall, I told you to put that all down in writing. And what you have to realize, number one, we're not Washington County, so we don't have that amount of money.
I'm not talking about that amount.
And the other thing, you're saying we're giving tremendous amounts of money to other groups. All the groups that are getting anything, West Maryland Scenic Railroad, that is done by an arrangement that was done years ago to build that scenic railroad. We have money that goes to the Allegany Highlands Trail. That, again, is a business agreement for that bike trail, which does bring, it's for the maintenance and the upkeep and improvements needed for that bike trail. County keeps a very small stipend for ourselves, $9,000 for community promotions. So we have money to donate when the basketball tournament comes in, or somebody else needs a donation from the county for a special event. Ag Expo, yes, that's the county fair. That fair is huge for this, and I think you would enjoy going to some of the Ag Association meetings and see what they do with the kids in this area. It is very important through their 4-H programs and all. Then you do have the Arts Council, Cumberland Theater, very meager amount, $8,000. The Rocky Gap debt service, that eats up 90% of that. Toll House, we have $2,600 for Toll House, which as a historian, I'm quite sure you'd like to see that Toll House maintained, and that's what that's for. So, and then we've got our tourism department, which is Barb, the contract for that. So I don't see where you're saying we're giving money out to all these groups. Most of this stuff is stuff we're required to do. About the only one that we've got any option on is Arts Council and the Cumberland Theater. All that other money has to go to those areas. If we don't spend the money on the trail, that trail that we've already got a lot of money invested onto is going to go down. All these heavy rains washes that trail out. You know, we've got to legally, we've got to help the scenic railroad. You know, we've got to pay that debt service at Rocky Gap. In fact, the hotel motel tax, we're using the hotel motel tax that is raised at Rocky Gap, and that pays a portion of the debt. It pays like $200-some thousand out of a much larger amount that's owed. So, you know, we're not giving huge amounts of money to anybody else.
Well, Bill, I can appreciate that, and yes, Washington County does bring it. The money, the amounts, I'm not questioning. Well, the issue that I'm trying to drive home here is the process. I mean, I have Washington County's process here. It isn't the amount of money that they're giving out. I don't care what the amount of money they're giving out. I care about their process. The process is not open. It's not. It isn't an open forum. What you're telling me, another historic organization, let's say the Allegany County Genealogical Society. I'm not speaking for those good folks. They're not part of our group. What if they came in here and asked for money? They wouldn't be allowed to get any either because they haven't always been getting it. That's what I have, you know, that's what I've been getting in letters from the county, that you've never applied for it, so therefore you're kind of not in the fray of things. The Arts Council, the theater, they've always gotten it, so somehow they always get it. It isn't a year, it should be done on a yearly type thing, where each group applies, they have to come in, and every group has a viable option and an opportunity, I want to use the word opportunity, to be able to get a stipend out of that thing.
Well, Ed, you have that opportunity. You were allowed to submit this today.
And it's still the same result.
And I have taken part in the Washington County process. I belong to a rather large organization in Washington County. I know what their process is. And really, if you'd have submitted this for money in Washington County, you wouldn't have been in the top tier to get funding for it. What we need is taxpayer dollars. And you've been a very strong supporter of taking care of taxpayer dollars. So whenever you're coming back to us with another request, let us know what you are spending on each project you're going to do. Let us know what it's going to cost to build a monument to Joe Blow that's going to go in a graveyard on First Street. Yeah, that's what we have to know. So if the taxpayers come back and say, well, you gave this money to the Historic Society, where'd it go?
All right, so you're telling me all these other groups have done that too?
This is a very general, and if you'll remember, at that meeting that we were at, I said, be specific. We need it to be specific, and this is very general. I mean, I appreciate what you do. I've been at your events. I know what you do. But if we're doing something with taxpayer money, it needs to be a little bit more specific than we're going to put up some monuments. We're going to repair some monuments. That doesn't make it with a lot of taxpayers. You're a taxpayer that's come in and questioned before how money is spent, and you want to get an answer. So if somebody else comes in and questions the money you got and spent, they're going to want some answers too. So your request needs to be more specific, and you'll have a much better chance of getting funding after we get rid of the Rocky Gap debt. The big difference between us, the City of Cumberland, Washington County, the other ones you're bringing up, Washington County's money is not tied up with having to pay Rocky Gap, with having to pay money for the scenic
I'm
railroad.
not questioning Rocky Gap.
But what I'm saying is our money is, we don't have that much money to play with. You got two organizations here that's basically not required funding. Right.
Yeah.
Two organizations.
Two. And they could be cut. And if we want to get into what might not fly with some of the taxpayers, as one of those overtaxed payers in this county, some of the crap that comes out of that Cumberland Theater, that doesn't fly with me. Some of it is absolutely crude and unethical. But I'm not up here on a campaign attacking them. And, you know, I mean, that's a two-way street. I mean, we can get into some specifics on that one. I mean, that's some of the crap that's come out of that place over the years. It's horrendous. And, you know, that's a discussion for another day. But we're still asking for a portion. Take it from the theater. Take it from the Arts Council.
Let me jump in here, Mr. Taylor. And what I told you, I think last April when this was all happening the first time in July, you know, I've given you the same answer again and again and again. You know, I think it should be an open process. You should be able to come and you should be able to pitch your case along with everyone else. And the letter that we sent you allowed that to happen, and that was at our April 30 meeting or our May 7 work session.
That's right.
Is that correct, Mr. Eberly? Public meetings. And so that alleviated my fears. You know, there was another organization along with yours that submitted an application for funds. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And they're in the same boat. So, you know, whether you get it or not, that's a separate issue, but you have an opportunity to apply. You submitted stuff. It's not like we're not allowing you to apply. And, you know, we have to make that decision. We have a pot of money, and you know, you don't agree where we're doling it out, but, you know, it's not easy.
Well, I understand that, but what I don't agree is it's being sent to the same folks year in and year out. That's the issue, Mr. Shade. And in the letter that was sent to Mr. Eberly, yes, he did say we can come in and give our pitch for it, but it also said in the next paragraph that you're not going to get anything. I mean, you know, what a motivator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ed. We have a gentleman about DNR buying land. Sorry, I can't read your name there.
Yes. My name is Larry Haynes, and I've been a resident of Allegany County since my birth, 68 years. I love Allegany County. I read in the paper not too long ago that Allegany County's income, their tax income, is going down. We're not getting the tax income that we should be getting. Is that correct?
Well, we're getting the tax income we should be getting. We could use more tax money.
Okay.
But we're not raising taxes on.
And our assessments are flat, relatively.
Right. Okay. In the past 5 years, I know, and I don't know who is behind buying it, whether it's the DNR or the state of Maryland, which they're both one and the same probably. But are you guys aware that they just bought the Slider property on Town Creek? Probably about 700 acres. That there's not going to be any tax money coming from those 700 acres anymore because the state of Maryland owns it? My question is, and I thought at one time, what's the state of Maryland own in Allegany County? It's in the 40% range, right?
No, it's about 23%.
23%, okay. I thought at one time that before the DNR or the state of Maryland could purchase more property, then they had to sell an equal amount of property. Is that true or not true?
That's not true.
That's not true. I think it's true in Garrett County.
We'd like for them to have to do that, but that's not the case in either county.
Okay, however, they're buying more and more property on the east side of Town Creek, and it's farmland. And this farmland has been farmed for hundreds and hundreds of years. So what are they going to do with this? They're going to plant trees in those cleared fields for whatever reason. I think as county commissioners, we've got to do something about the state buying all this ground and we're not getting any tax money off of this anymore.
Well, sir, I've worked along with Senator Edwards this year. He had a bill in to where, and it stands a real good chance of going into effect next year, but the state will have to start paying $250,000 a year for every 10,000 acres of ground they own in any county. So
they'll be in a sense paying a tax, so to
they
speak,
will be
right?
paying. It's basically a payment in lieu of taxes because we can't put tax on state property.
Right, I understand.
And I agree fully with what you say. To me, yeah, I love Green Ridge Forest, yeah, and we need to protect some lands, and there are some lands that need to be protected, but enough's enough. They need to pay up. They need to be paying us taxes. Situation we get into right now, if you had a piece of property that's been on the market for a while, you want to sell it or you need to sell it, and the only offer you have is coming from the state, and they offer you a good price on it. You're happy with that. Would you want your county commissioners to say, no, you can't sell that property?
Well, the thing of it is,
it's a property rights thing to the property owner. I agree with the argument that we need to be getting some income from this land, and George's bill actually passed through the Senate this year, didn't get through the House just because it got tied up in the Rules Committee or something in the House because it got there late. But basically what that would say is for every 10,000 acres the state owns in any jurisdiction, they will have to pay that jurisdiction $250,000. And right now they're at about 57,000 acres, in Allegany. So that'd be a pretty nice income coming to the county.
Well, it would, Mr. Valentine, but the thing of it is, the state owns enough ground as it is because the private individual, if they buy all this farmland up, there's no more farmland. I mean,
You're right, and I think the three of us agree with you, more than almost any other elected officials in the state. Now, trying to get the state of Maryland to agree to that, especially under some administrations where they want to be environmentally friendly and do all this stuff. But, we have to approve we approved one tonight, and it's not easy. It's a landowner in the state of Maryland, and do you want your county to get in the middle of that? Some of us think that we shouldn't be involved. Some of us don't want another acre of land to be sold to the state, and it's hard to decide.
See, I can't see what the agenda would be. If the state owns all the property in Allegany County, what's going to be in Allegany County?
Well, I think most people realize for a long time.
Over 100 acres.
They see Allegany County as their green area for the state. They've overbuilt the counties downstate, and now they want to protect property, and so unfortunately it's our properties that they want to protect, even though I think the citizens here do a pretty good job of protecting their own property as it is. And I agree. You know, I'd hate to see the state continue to build property, and I'd actually tried to talk some legislators to put a bill in, like what you were talking about. If you're going to buy 10 acres, give us 10 acres back.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
sell 10 acres
Do an
back.
even trade. We don't have the authority to force the state to do that. And where you get into even legislatively, we've got 3 large counties to the east that can control the vote on anything. They're not worried about protecting their land. All they want to do is build, 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 build. So they're not worried about the state buying land anyplace else. But we have been working with Senator Edwards. I feel that his bill will go through. So if the state has to start paying a payment in lieu of taxes, then I don't think they're going to be quite so eager to get more ground, because somewhere along the line, their budget's going to say, no, you've got enough.
Well,
It's
see,
costing us too
another
much.
thing too, Mr. Valentine, is, like I said, I've been a resident of Allegheny County ever since I've been born, and I've been paying taxes for 50-some years. And my taxes are gonna keep going up as long as the daggone state keeps buying more property and other people aren't paying, so that's all I have to
Right,
say.
yeah, there's less
Mr.
land
Haynes,
to pay the taxes.
When was the property sold? Because normally anything over 100 acres, unless it's sold to a private individual, it has to be approved by us. So if the Snyder ground has been sold,
It was the Marcellus Slider property on Town Creek, and it was been in the past, I'd say, 2 months.
Yeah, but was it all sold? I think.
Well, they kept 2 acres and the house. At least they didn't buy the house and going to tear the barn.
I know the property quite well that you're talking about.
Right.
But did they purchase it all as one plot, or was it, because that was owned by a couple different
Right.
family members.
Right.
So it could be that they purchased 90 acres from you, bought 90 acres from Jake, 90 acres from Creed, and we wouldn't have had any
Anything to
say
do with it.
say it.
yeah, 'cause Mr. Brasky will tell you from the state of Maryland that he does not like to deal with me because I don't believe in taking our tax money to buy ground to take it off the tax map.
Right.
So.
Well, I do know in the same location, there's what they call the Slider School. It's an old one-room schoolhouse
Yeah.
in Pumpkin Center.
Yeah.
The state bought that too, so hopefully they don't tear that down.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, man. I'm late.
Next week, we will be having an executive session on Thursday, April 30th at 4 p.m. in room 408, and there will be a report given on that executive session after it's held. Our next public meeting will be Thursday, April 30th at 5 p.m. right here in this room. We're still working on our budget. To see the budget schedule, it's on our website, and it'll be run in the paper. And keep an eye out for, there will be announcements on the news agencies about an Allegheny Mineral County's Crime Solvers meeting that's going to be out at ACM. It's open to the public, plus the state is having a meeting here trying to see what can be done about the crime rate in Allegheny County. So both those are going to be, I think the state's is on the 30th and the Crime Solvers is on the 28th.
Yes.
So those are both open to the public. Anybody can go and give input. They want to hear input from the citizens on what can be done to lower the crime rate here. So with that, the meeting is closed. We thank you all for coming.
Thank you.